Welcome back to History Now, the channel that takes you on a journey through time. Today, we're embarking on an exciting adventure, exploring the life of one of history's most iconic figures, Alexander the Great. This isn't just a tale of conquests and battles, but a deep dive into the man behind the legend. Born in Pella in 356 BC, Alexander was the son of King Philip II of Macedon and his wife, Olympias. Even as a child, he exhibited signs of the great leader he was destined to become. His ascension to the throne at the tender age of 20, following his father's assassination, marked the beginning of a new era. Alexander is renowned for his military prowess. Over a decade, he built an empire that stretched from Greece to Egypt and as far east as India. But who was he when the armor came off? We'll delve into his personal life, his beliefs, and the legacy he left behind. In 323 BC, Alexander's life was cut short in Babylon. He was just 32. His death marked the end of an era, but his legacy lived on, influencing generations to come. From his humble beginnings in Pella to his untimely death in Babylon, Alexander the Great left an indelible mark on history. Thanks for joining us on this journey through his life. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more historical deep dives. Until next time, stay curious, history nerds. Despite his name, Alexander wasn't always great. Born in Pella in 356 BC, he was the son of King Philip II of Macedon and his wife, Olympias. From a young age, he showed signs of the leader he would become. Let's delve deeper into his early life. Alexander was born into a world of power and privilege, but it wasn't all smooth sailing. His mother, Olympias, was a fiercely ambitious woman, and she instilled in him a burning desire for greatness. His father, Philip I, was a formidable king and military leader, and under his guidance, Alexander was exposed to warfare and politics at an early age. He was educated by the philosopher Aristotle, who instilled in him a love for knowledge and exploration. Alexander's relationship with his father was complex. Philip was a tough role model, and their relationship was strained by Philip's multiple marriages and the political turmoil that ensued. Despite these challenges, Alexander showed signs of his future greatness. There are stories of his incredible courage and intelligence, like taming the wild horse Bucephalus at just 12 years old, a feat that none of the hardened warriors in his father's court could accomplish. When Alexander was just 16, his father left him in charge of Macedonia while he was away on a military campaign. During this time, Alexander proved his strategic prowess by quelling a Thracian rebellion. His early life was a crucible, shaping him into the leader he would become. It was a mixture of his mother's ambition, his father's military expertise, and his own natural talents that set him on the path to greatness. In our next segment, we'll explore how Alexander ascended to the throne and began his legendary military campaigns. Stay tuned, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to History Nerd for more deep dives into history's most fascinating figures. When his father was assassinated in 336 BC, Alexander ascended to the throne. He was just 20 years old, but his youth didn't stop him from making bold moves. Let's take a moment to understand the gravity of this situation. Alexander was barely out of his teens, yet he was thrust into a position of immense power and responsibility. He was now the king of one of the most powerful kingdoms of the time. His father's assassination had left the kingdom in a state of uncertainty and chaos. There were threats both from within and outside the kingdom. But Alexander, despite his youth, proved to be a capable leader. His first move was to eliminate potential threats to his throne. He swiftly dealt with the internal dissent and rebellions, demonstrating his strategic acumen and ruthlessness. Next, he set his sights on the external threats. His father had left him a strong and well-trained army, and Alexander used this to his advantage. He launched a series of campaigns to expand his kingdom, starting with the Balkan tribes to the north. These campaigns were not just about expansion, but also about sending a message to the other Greek city-states. Alexander was not just a young king, he was a force to be reckoned with. In the years that followed, Alexander continued to consolidate his power. He introduced reforms to strengthen his army, made alliances to secure his borders, and implemented policies to improve the lives of his people. Despite his youth, Alexander proved to be a wise and effective ruler. His bold moves in the early years of his reign set the stage for the legendary military campaigns that would come later. In our next segment, we'll explore these campaigns in detail. Stay tuned, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to History Nerd for more deep dives into history's most fascinating figures. Alexander is best known for his military campaigns. Over the course of a decade, he conquered an empire stretching from Greece to Egypt and as far east as India. Let's take a closer look at these campaigns. Alexander's military genius was not just about winning battles, but also about strategic planning and effective management of his forces. His first major campaign was against the Persian Empire. Despite being heavily outnumbered, Alexander's forces managed to defeat the Persians in several key battles, including the Battle of Issus and the Battle of Gaugamela. These victories were not just due to Alexander's tactical brilliance, but also his ability to inspire his troops and keep their morale high. After conquering Persia, Alexander didn't rest on his laurels. He pushed eastward, conquering territories that were previously unknown to the Greeks. His campaign in India is particularly noteworthy. Despite facing fierce resistance, Alexander's forces managed to win several battles and establish Greek control over large parts of the subcontinent. But Alexander's campaigns were not just about conquest. He also focused on consolidating his rule in the conquered territories. He established new cities, many of which were named after him, and introduced Greek culture and administration. This blend of cultures, known as Hellenistic culture, had a profound impact on the regions he conquered. However, these campaigns took a heavy toll on Alexander and his forces. The constant warfare, the long marches, and the resistance from the conquered peoples led to discontent among his troops. This eventually forced Alexander to turn back from India and return to Babylon, where he died a few years later. In our next segment, we'll explore the circumstances of Alexander's death and the legacy he left behind. Stay tuned, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to History Nerd for more deep dives into history's most fascinating figures. But who was Alexander off the battlefield? Let's take a look at his personal life, his beliefs, and the legacy he left behind. Off the battlefield, Alexander was a complex figure. He was known for his charismatic personality and his love for learning. His tutor was none other than the philosopher Aristotle, who instilled in him a deep love for philosophy, science, and the arts. Alexander was also deeply religious. He believed in the Greek gods and often sought their guidance before his military campaigns. He also respected the religions of the conquered peoples, a policy that helped him maintain control over his vast empire. In his personal life, Alexander was known for his close friendships, particularly with his childhood friend Hephaestion. Their friendship was a key part of Alexander's life and is often highlighted in historical accounts. Despite his military successes, Alexander's life was not without controversy. His heavy drinking, his volatile temper, and his autocratic rule were sources of discontent among his troops, and the conquered peoples. As for his legacy, Alexander's impact on the world was profound. His military campaigns changed the course of history, and his policies led to the spread of Greek culture across the known world. This period, known as the Hellenistic period, saw a flourishing of science, arts, and philosophy. In our next segment, we'll delve deeper into the Hellenistic period and its impact on the world. Stay tuned, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to History Nerd for more deep dives into history's most fascinating figures. In 323 BC, Alexander died in Babylon at the age of 32. His death marked the end of an era, but his legacy lived on. Alexander's death was sudden and unexpected. He fell ill after a night of heavy drinking and died a few days later. The exact cause of his death remains a mystery, with theories ranging from poisoning to malaria. His death left a power vacuum in his vast empire. Alexander had not named a successor, and his generals and companions were left to fight for control. This period, known as the Wars of the Diadochi, saw the fragmentation of Alexander's empire into several Hellenistic kingdoms. Despite his early death and the subsequent fragmentation of his empire, Alexander's legacy lived on. His military campaigns had reshaped the world, and his policies had spread Greek culture far and wide. The cities he founded, particularly Alexandria in Egypt, became centers of learning and culture. His influence can be seen in the spread of Hellenistic art, architecture, and science throughout the regions he conquered. Moreover, Alexander's life and deeds became the stuff of legend. He was immortalized in the works of historians, playwrights, and artists. His story has been told and retold over the centuries, making him one of the most famous figures in history. In our next segment, we'll explore the impact of Alexander's legacy on the world. Stay tuned, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to History Nerd for more deep dives into history's most fascinating figures. From his humble beginnings in Pella to his untimely death in Babylon, Alexander the Great left an indelible mark on history. Thanks for joining us on this journey through his life. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more historical deep dives. Until next time, stay curious.